So the overall aim of DiversiTree is to increase the resilience of our current and future woodlands. And we're going to do this by seeing how increasing the diversity of tree species will enable an increase in resilience. You can see that we're going to work across a range of scales, and we've deliberately written from microbes to mines in there. And that's really to underline the fact that not only are we working at a range of biological scales, but we're including that really important human aspect as well. Many of our woodlands, both our semi-natural woodlands and our commercial woodlands, are often dominated by just a few tree species. We're all well aware that our woodlands are threatened by a range of pests and pathogens and climate change, and if they severely impact that dominant tree species, that can have a huge impact on our woodlands. In contrast, in a more diverse woodland, you can have the same range of pests and pathogens, but if they only impact that tree species, you have less of an impact. So DiversiTree is all about how you move from woodlands that are dominated by a few tree species to a more diverse woodland. And why are more diverse woodlands potentially more resilient? Well, there's many ecological reasons, but one of them might be that they can deliver a greater range of functions. In addition, in a more diverse woodland, tree species might be able to substitute for one another. People are critical to making this transition, and we need to not only understand what people's attitudes are about diversity, but provide them with that knowledge so that they can make that transition. So our first challenge is looking at how woodland managers and other stakeholders understand that diversity. What are their ambitions for a more resilient woodland in the future? What tree species do they see as being important in the future? And how do they perceive diversity? At what spatial scales? At the stand, at the landscape, within a woodland? Secondly, we want to look at this question of ecosystem functionality. So our hypothesis here is that a more diverse woodland will provide a greater range of microbes on the leaves of the trees. And if you've got a greater range of microbial diversity, that might help resist pathogen infection. Our third aim is to look at what we call functional redundancy. So how can tree species substitute for each other? Fourth challenge is obviously actually coming up with the management strategies to implement this. And we're specifically going to focus on 4 management strategies. We're going to look at continuous forest cover. We're going to look at novel species. So that includes non-native species and a greater range of tree species, but it will also include species that are not traditionally seen as being native to particular areas within the UK. So species that might be native to England, but not to Scotland, for example. The third method is natural regeneration, and the fourth method is focused on diversifying the leaf microbiome. So we're very much focusing on conifers. We're specifically focusing on Scots pine and Sitka spruce, but we will very much be assessing the transferability of these results to other woodland types.